It's the month of May in Indianapolis, and on the run up to the greatest spectacle in racing, the month begins with a weekend on the road course for the NTT IndyCar Series and the path to IndyCar, including Indy NXT by Firestone. Weather today a little bit ominous. There is a chance of rain that could impact the IndyCar race coming up at 3:30 Eastern today on NBC. But right now for Indy NXT, just cloud cover. There is a chance of rain, but we're looking good for the next little while. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today with NBC Sports and Peacock. I'm Kevin Lee, along with Charlie Kimball, who has a lot of experience starting up front, finishing in the top 5 here in IndyCar races. Before we talk about where things stand for round 3 of Indy NXT, this place. It's the start of the month of May and crossing the Yard of Bricks. What's that mean to a young driver?
Well, the first time I raced here in 2009, I got goosebumps driving in. Driving in for this race weekend, I got goosebumps just as big, if not bigger. It means everything. You know, Al Unser Jr. said, you just don't know what Indy means, and the chance for these Indy NXT drivers to get the opportunity to compete on the road course and pave the way towards the NTT IndyCar Series is so cool for them.
So let's talk about the game at hand. Yes, they're thinking about the magnitude and the opportunity, but this is a points-paying race, round 3, and you're trying to win scholarships and impress IndyCar teams. What's at stake for the drivers? Where do things stand and play as we get going?
Well, the 35 laps for these young drivers, it's about learning, making progress, picking up points. There are opportunities for some corners to end in tears for these young drivers, so they're really going to try and do the best, get the best results. We're only 3 races into this long championship. Being a championship points-paying race, they've got an eye towards that season finale at the end of the year, but they're also eyeing standing on top of that podium here right at the base of the pagoda.
And turn 1 can certainly create chaos. The guy is going to have the best view of that, the young driver, just a few moments ago that will lead the field to the green. Talk to our Georgia Henneberry.
Well, thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Charlie. Matteo Nannini is going to start on the pole for today's Indy NXT by Firestone Grand Prix, his first pole in the Indy NXT by Firestone series. And Matteo, to do it at a place like the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, how special is that?
Yeah, I'm very happy to have done a pole position with my team. We did a lot of job behind the scene because we didn't start the championship the way we wanted, but we knew that we have the speed since the first time we've been on track. So it was just a matter of luck and putting the lap together. So yeah, I'm really happy for the result.
Now, how are you going to be able to capitalize on this result to get it done today?
I think it's a long race. It's very warm today. There is a little bit of sun now. So I think it will be important to get through turn 1 mainly, and then just about managing the tires. And if you're fast, we win. Otherwise, we do our best.
That is Matteo Nannini. He is going to start on the pole for today's Indy NXT by Firestone Grand Prix. Charlie, Kevin.
And he summed it up better than anybody can. If we're fast, we're going to win.
That's right. That's one of the things here at the Indy GP on the road course. The speed in the car matters more than anything else because you can pass. Talk about that a little bit with the track map coming up, but Christian Rasmussen, one of the favorites going into the championship this year, leading the points.
Yeah, after 2 rounds, we start to look at how the championship stacks up. Rasmussen, no surprise that he's up there. I would say Nolan Siegel feels really good as a rookie driver moving up to Indy NXT to be up there at the top. Good start for Jacob Abel. And unfortunately, Ernie Francis Jr. tied for 4th in points. He suffered a broken wrist at the start of that Barber race, still finished the race, but had to have surgery. We're going to have more on that coming up in just a little bit. And you talk about some guys trying to make up some points. That includes Matteo Nannini. He, as mentioned, had a rough start to the season, so he can really score some big points. And that's the thing here. Even if you are in the back 2 rounds in, a podium today shakes things up and you're just right back in the game.
It's all about being consistent all year long.
Drivers are strapped in and waiting the command here in a matter of moments at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Time for the most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command for today's Indy NXT by Firestone Grand Prix. Welcome on the victory podium against the Firestone, David Coletti.
Drivers, start your engines!
Great to see Firestone tires back on these Indy NXT cars, and the Firestone Firehawk there to give these young drivers a thumbs up as they roll out. That Matteo Nannini car leading the way.
There's a great look at a livery that has a lot of history here at this place. Jagger Jones in the colors of his famous grandfather, Parnelli Jones. All right, Charlie, let's look at this just shy of 2.5 mile, 14-turn course.
Well, it's a great 14-corner natural terrain road course inside the famed 2.5 mile Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Some long straights here in turn one, longest straight down to a heavy braking zone. Can lead to tiers I talked about earlier, but also a great overtaking point. Great place for the fans to sit on the hill. Another great place. It was full this morning when I drove in. Families sitting inside at turn 7, down Holman Boulevard, headed towards the south. Heavy braking, rhythm section coming out. Now turn 14, the fastest corner on the racetrack, leads onto that long straight. But as these Firestone tires wear, the drivers get tired. Mateo talked about the heat and humidity today. As these drivers get a little bit tired, that turn 14, especially the wall at the exit, can reach out and bite you if you're not careful.
Let's look at how the 18 cars are going to line up in this Indy NXT by Firestone Grand Prix from Indianapolis. Matteo Nannini, Italian, has some history in Formula One with his family, his first pole, and Hunter McElroy gets a start on the front row today for Andretti Autosport.
Really impressive run for the rookie Louis Foster inside of row 2, and Kiffin Simpson quickest in practice yesterday.
Josh Green starts in the inside of row 3. He's had a solid start to the season. The championship leader Christian Rasmussen starts next to him.
Josh Pearson, another rookie inside of row 4. James Rowe in that 29 car on the outside of row 4.
Indianapolis resident, Butler student, Jacob Abel in row 5. And Rasmus Lind has moved to Juncos Hollinger Racing. His teammate wins the pole. Good to see Rasmus back in the car.
Inam Ahmed inside of row 6 and Daniel Frost outside of row 6.
Colin Kaminsky, Jamie Chadwick with a solid qualifying effort in a rookie season in row 7.
And Reese Gold driving a different car for HMD Motorsports this weekend inside of row 8. Nolan Siegel after those great results outside of row 8.
Jagger Jones, Christian Bogle in row number 9. 18 cars in play here this weekend, ready to do battle at the world's greatest race course. Let's find out what it's going to take to be successful with Kimball's Keys.
Well, we talked a little bit about it already. Matteo Nannini, as a rookie, doesn't have a whole lot of experience with rolling starts. He is that rookie pole sitter, and it's a long run. I know Hunter McElroy will be thinking about how to take advantage of that. Down into turn 1, that long straight leads into some heavy brake zones, and we've seen great passing, great racing back and forth down this long front straightaway the other way from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway oval into turn 1. Some great overtaking back and forth, defending, passing. You see that into turn 7 as well. So I think what it's going to take to get it done today is get through turn 1 cleanly, take advantage of those straights if you're not starting up front, to make those passes, move forward, take advantage of the speed of the car, and be there at the end of 35 laps.
Indy NXT by Firestone is the top step, the top development series. The next step is the NTT IndyCar series. It's the same chassis manufacturer. Dallara makes the Indy cars. Dallara makes these chassis as well. They look very similar. We're talking 450 horsepower, so between 200 to 300 less than we're talking about, depending on the configuration for IndyCar. But these cars will haul the mail.
And they're still only about 7 or 8 seconds. Oh, excuse me, there are 5 to 6 seconds in qualifying, slower than the Indy cars around here. And on a 60, 70 second lap, 5 to 6 seconds is not that much time. And they are running on Firestone tires, a very similar construction and rubber to what we have in the NTT IndyCar series.
Riding on board today with Nolan Siegel from HMD. HMD has won the last 4 races here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They have dominated the start of this season, but 2 different teams are on the front row today. Juncos Hollinger Racing and Matteo Nannini, 18-year-old from Italy. He is a race winner in FIA F3 2 years ago, and Andretti Autosports, Hunter McElroy, one of the championship favorites coming into the season. They are on the front row today. And then you've got another Andretti car and an HMD car in row 2 with Louis Foster and Kiffin Simpson. We are lined up and we are ready to get the month of May started. Indy NXT by Firestone about ready to go, but they are going to wave off the starts. We are told unacceptable pace. They were lined up pretty well, but too slow.
So that I talked about a rookie pole sitter, Matteo Nannini, leading the field. What race control wants you to do when you're leading the field and have control of all of those hungry young drivers behind you is to maintain the pace car speed. Matteo maybe back it down a little bit more, thinking if he could wait a little bit longer, shorten that straight, he could get a good jump and hold on to the lead into turn 1. They'll line him up, re-rack this, and get ready to do it all over again. Now this lap does count towards the race distance of 35 laps.
Time limit also in play, if needed, of 50 minutes. Let's look at this again, Charlie.
Oh, everyone popping out. It's just way slower than they were expecting.
That was Daniel Frass back there in that white and orange car, one of them that was expecting to go and had to weave around to miss. And as you said, Charlie, this is lap 1, so we will count this as a yellow flag lap and go green next time by. We'll try one more time. Good or bad for young drivers? That helped the nerves a little bit to have a re-go?
I think as a driver, you just want it to go green so you can go racing. You know you've got a fast car. The field's definitely more spread out. The tail end of the field's going to have to catch up. Nolan Siegel, a little further back, is going to have to work harder to get lined up. We'll see how much of a pace adjustment Matteo Nannini makes here for this second attempt at a green flag.
Well, the back half is really strung out. They are filed nicely at the front. Green and black car, Matteo Nannini will lead them to the green and will wave this one off again. There was a huge gap in the middle of the field you can see as they just enter the straightaway.
And it'll be interesting to see if the pace car jumps out here at the exit at turn 2 to pick this field up, control the pace up until they get lined up. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if race control thought that one was maybe a little too fast, a little too strung out towards the back of the field. Matteo Nannini leading his first 2 laps here in Indy NXT as the pole sitter. And again, there is a window from race control on when you can accelerate towards a green.
And this time, the call is that Nannini went too early. Yeah, he's on the gas there.
Hunter McElroy wasn't even lined up towards the straight. Maybe some games being played a little bit from that rookie pole setter. Part of it is learning, but part of it's trying to find an advantage.
Well, remember, he comes from standing starts, so he's done 2 rolling starts in his life. So let me ask you this. As far as getting packed up all the way through the field with this course, easier or harder than some of the other places Indy NXT would race?
The place that we had to push, okay?
It is so interesting. I was trying to listen to that radio from Matteo Nannini's engineer to him, but finding that advantage, getting them all lined up, going when you want to, making sure those Firestone tires have enough heat in them. There's a lot going on in your head as a driver, and all you want to do is focus on going forward and not when to hit the gas and when to line up.
The third time will be a charm. Through turn 13, it's Indy NXT by Firestone from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Nannini, McElroy leading the field back on the main straightaway. We see green, and let's go from Indy.
2, 3 wide. They're stretching out into turn 1. Nannini right along the pit wall. 4, 5 wide.
Foster trying to go the long way around on the outside in the 28 car. He's going to get McElroy.
Hunter McElroy with a shocker of a start goes from 2nd all the way down to 5th. Kiffin Simpson up there in 4th.
Nannini is in front, 3 wide, coming through 4.
Clean so far, little bumping and banging in the back.
Jacob Abel has to avoid contact.
Avoid the chicane, and as long as you don't gain a position, race control doesn't mind that, especially at a start like this.
Foster to 2nd.
Does Louis Foster have the speed? Now he's got a little bit of clear air in front of him to chase down that 75 Junkos Hollinger car of Matteo Nannini, and they're still scrapping in the back.
And Jacob Abel in that red and white Abel construction car, looks like he got a spot there. Great start from Matteo Nannini. 5-6 car lengths. He's out in front of Louis Foster.
He's got about a 2nd on Louis Foster in the first lap. That's exactly what he wanted. Now he's just got to think, put your head down, drive away. He's almost outside a good drafting area from Louis Foster, and Louis Foster's got Christian Rasmussen, who you know was disappointed with yesterday's qualifying, thinking about how to get past.
Rasmussen from 6th to 3rd. A move a little further back. That's Rasmus Lind going to the inside in the darker black and green car. Kaminsky in the 57 there, looking for spots.
Everyone knows the start of this race is the best chance to try and move forward. We'll see how much Rasmus Lind, you know he has a car as quick as our race leader, Matteo Nannini. He's a rookie. He's got some good experience, though, in a lot of different race cars.
So Foster has gapped a little bit on Rasmussen. Then it's Simpson, McElroy, Green, Rowe. Lind has moved forward. Abel and Pearson, the top 10 right now.
Everybody's settling down a little bit, figuring out what their car is and how fast it is, where they're strong, where they need to be a little more protective behind them. Louis Foster hitting that apex curve right there in turn 13. Everyone bouncing off that curb, trying to get onto the front straight as quickly as possible.
That white and green car is Josh Pearson. He is back in the HMD Motorsports with Ed Carpenter Racing car. He missed the Barber round, racing in the World Endurance Championship. Not a full schedule for him this season. James Rowe in that blue Topcon car looking. And there's Jagger Jones going to the inside, trying to find a spot. A lock up a little further back. That's Reese Gold in the yellow and black number 10 car. Now with HMD that was working side by side.
Looked like he was working his way past Nolan Siegel. Siegel second in points, having more of a struggle this weekend. He started the season really impressively with a couple of seconds. Now he's having to defend behind him. Oh, going back past Reese Gold into turn 7.
Gold is getting acclimated to a new car. Started the season with Juncos Hollinger Racing. Essentially, it's been a trade. Reese Gold and Rasmus Lind swapped teams. Lind was not in the car at Barber. Gold decided to move on to HMD, and that opened up a seat at Juncos Hollinger. Replay again into turn 1. Jagger Jones getting a spot. And then side by side a little further back with Siegel and Gold. Gold on the inside, of that move prevailing. Here's on board with Siegel.
Oh, Siegel was behind Reese Gold trying to go the long ways around. What a great perspective, and you can see how he's working the wheel. Those green highlights on his black gloves, really great view. More side by side into turn 1. That looks like Colin Kaminsky behind Josh Pearson. But back up front, Hunter McElroy trying to find space to go past Kiffin Simpson.
That's the best battle right now, back there for 4th and 5th position. That's McElroy with the black rear wing, the 27, working on the 21. It's Andretti versus HMD, the two biggest teams in Indy NXT by Firestone. We'll keep an eye on that. Let's talk more about Reese Gold with Georgia.
Yeah, Reese Gold joining the HMD Motorsports camp this weekend, and he explained to me that it's been nice getting to know the team. He's quickly learning that more teammates means more data, but he's eager to use it to help propel the HMD team a little bit farther. But ultimately, he told me he could go back. He wishes he could go back to Ohio and put up the times that he did at Mid-Ohio in the tests, but he's optimistic for the rest of the season with his new team.
That's a late dive into 13. That's not a typical passing opportunity down there into turn 13. We saw a yellow car racing a green car in there. It was a little hard to tell who it was, but you make those late dives and a lot of times it doesn't pay off.
So going back to what Georgia was saying, talking with Reese Gold about joining that big team, I spoke with Josh Green, and that's his Imperium car right there, the pink and white car, about how that was going. That was one of the big questions outsiders were asking. Come on, can you really make a 9-car program work? And he said, I'm telling you the truth, it has been perfect. The team is so well organized. We have massive amounts of data as we see McElroy taking a look. Make that Kiffin Simpson trying to go the long way around on Christian Rasmussen. And Simpson is going to make that stick. That is a bold move into turn 7.
And the lap before, we thought Hunter McElroy was going to make a move on Kiffin Simpson into 7. Kiffin Simpson obviously realized he needed to think about going forward and not worry about what was happening behind him. That was a great pass the long way around Christian Rasmussen.
And that's another HMD car. The point Josh was telling us is that, no, this is all going well. We feel like the extra engineering information is working well. We split up into groups of 3, so we're not there forever debriefing. And more is simply better, and the team has done everything and delivered everything as promised.
That is quite a logistical challenge. That many drivers, that many engineers, that many mechanics and cars, and sponsors and supporters and family of these Indy NXT drivers as well.
Let's go back to that run up into turn 7. For third place, Kyffin Simpson making it work the long way around.
He pops to the outside. Christian Rasmussen defends, which is his right. Take away the preferred passing lane into the corner. Simpson goes around the outside, steals the inside into turn 8, clears the pass, and goes forward.
A pair of teammates there racing each other cleanly. Rasmussen could have decided, you know what, that's my corner. I'm going to venture out as wide as I like and put you in the grass, but they run well and they live to fight another corner.
And so far, Matteo Nannini up front is doing everything he needs to continue to pull a gap on Louis Foster, who's about a second and a half back. And the last lap, the first 3 cars in line were the fastest laps of the race.
Matteo Nannini is only 19 years old from Italy, but as Jacob Abel joked about when Georgia talked to him last week, speaking with him, talked about his resume, and he does have an impressive resume. He's done about a half a season in FIA F2. He's won in FIA F3. That's a very, very solid level of racing in Europe, and his dad was a Formula One engineer. His uncle is Alessandro Nannini, who raced and won in Formula One, the 1989 Japanese Grand Prix. So Nannini has grown up in the racing world. Very shy, very quiet young man. New to a new series, new to a new country. You did that as a young man, going to a new country, racing over. What is that like? Trying to understand the racing world, but just trying to understand life.
I had the benefit of at least speaking the language. When I went to race in the UK, at least I spoke some version of English that was similar. There were nuanced differences for sure, but at the same time, you learn a lot about the racing. The racing in the US versus the UK is very, very different. Across Europe, Matteo comes here and is not only learning a whole new style of racing with rolling starts.
You and the second, same pace, okay? 1.5 seconds.
Different types of starts, standing starts versus rolling starts, different team mentalities, racetracks, but also where to get your groceries, where to go get food, where to work out. You know, there is a great support system here in central Indiana, Indianapolis, for these young drivers. It's how not only do you build that progression of drivers on the racetrack towards the NTT IndyCar Series, but you also build them as people, as athletes.
Good look at Hunter McElroy running in 5th right now. Let's listen in from just moments ago to some of his radio communication.
Think about those bars and bias. Take it easy on the push to pass now unless you need to defend. Rasmussen's starting to struggle a little bit here, mate. Keep it nice and smooth. Look after the tires.
Those two drivers were teammates last year. So Hunter McElroy on the hunt, but his engineer reminding him to save that push to pass. Now that push to pass system is a way for these drivers to get a little extra horsepower out of their cars, but it's limited in time, so they have to be a little careful about how much they use it.
There's Josh Green running in 6th position right now, off to a nice start to this season. 5th in the championship, and Georgia has more.
Well, before this weekend, Josh Green actually believed that the IMS road course was his worst circuit, but he had a little hesitation when hitting the track for the first time, but he quickly realized he enjoys the road course in an Indy NXT car. So I asked him what he meant when comparing the USF Pro 2000 car and the Indy NXT car, and he says that he learned with the USF Pro 2000 car, you can kind of sit back and let the car do some of the work, but with a much heavier, much bigger Indy NXT car, you have to be quick with your hands and tell the car what to do. And Charlie, I'm not sure, but can you add any more insight to that?
Well, absolutely. In those lighter Pro 2000 cars, when you come into the corner, you just kind of let it roll through. When they're lighter, you have a little less grip, you want to let the car float. With these Indy NXT cars, they're heavier, they've got more downforce, more grip in those Firestone tires. So when you get into the corner, you really need to get up on the wheel, drive through the front of the car, and set the car where you want it, and pull the lap time out of it rather than letting the lap time happen.
For these rookie drivers, and that's why we talked about how impressive it was, what Nolan Siegel is doing, what Josh Green is doing, what Louis Foster is doing. Tell me about that jump, picking up, what, almost 200 horsepower from the USF Pro 2000 level to the Indy NXT level.
It takes a few days in the car before everything slows back down to a normal speed. Hanno Makare looking to the outside of Christian Rasmussen into turn one, not getting it done. The first time you get in a car that is that much faster, you feel like you're strapped to a cruise missile. Everything happens so fast, so quickly, you get behind the car. After a couple of days, things slow down. In fact, I remember my first few tests in an Indy NXT car, and on day 2, I asked if I was still getting full throttle because it felt slower because my brain had caught up to what was happening in the car.
Rasmus Lind back there taking a look at James Rowe, trying to move up to 7th position. Rasmus Lind has had a lot of success with Hunkos Hollinger back in the USF Pro 2000 series. Missed by 2 points of winning the championship over Kyle Kirkwood. Won a lot of races for that team, has raced with them in this series as well. And then here's Jagger Jones, our biggest mover so far, up 4 in the Total Sim car, and then Mecum Auctions on the car as well. I saw Dana Mecum just a little while ago back in the paddock. Mecum Auctions is already underway here at the State Fairgrounds in Indianapolis, going through next weekend.
I saw a version of that car in the Hall of Fame Museum just the other day. I mean, that is such an iconic
Old Calhoun.
Old Calhoun right here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You know, Jagger Jones has such a legacied history. And he doesn't shy away from it, but he also, I feel like, doesn't feel the burden of it too much.
And Jagger is only in his 2nd year of Formula Car racing. He was a champion go-kart racer, but then went the stock car path, came back, did the USF 2000 series last year, won, was the top rookie, top 5 in the championship, and then made the leap, skipping a step to go to Indy NXT. He knew this was going to be a learning experience. Add on that the team, Cape Motorsports, is back at this level for the first time in over a decade or so after dominating the USF 2000 series. So I think they're on target. They've had some bad luck so far this season, but it's going to come for Inam Ahmed, Jagger Jones, and Cape Motorsports eventually.
And as a team, making the decision to step back up to the Indy NXT program came in conjunction with the transition to the Firestone tires. So much of car setup, car development, and even driving style is built around the tire. And with those Firestone tires, one of the reasons I think these rookies may have had a better chance to be successful this year is because they don't have preconceived notions on how to drive the tire. The Firestones, they get in and say, oh, this is what I have to do to get the lap time, where the drivers that raced in Indy NXT last year have some preconceived notions that don't work on these Firestone rubber.
And his teammate Ahmed came home with a 4th place finish at Barber, and Jagger Jones was on a way to a good result too, but the car wouldn't restart after that late red flag that we had at Barber Motorsports Park. Riding on board with Nolan Siegel. Take us around. Running in 13th, he's looking up ahead to Colin Kaminsky.
One of the great things about this onboard is you can see how busy his hands are. Even though this road course is really smooth, this section 7 here into 8, lots of curbs. Watch how much the car and the tire vibrates. As you go over those curbs, it bounces. You come out of turn 10, all the way around up onto the south short chute between turn 1 and turn 2 of the oval here at Indy. This big heavy brake zone, not the biggest though. It's around to the right, and then you're quickly thinking about getting it back to the left, getting on the power, getting out, because this 13 through turn 14 here up onto the front straight for both the oval and the road course. Look how...
So make sure you take the curbs in 7, 8, 9. Make sure you glance across those curbs, hit them square.
So a little bit of driver coaching there from his HMD Motorsports team, talking about that turn 7, 8, 9, 10 complex, about using the curbs square rather than bouncing off of them. And you can see he's working the tire, working the wheel. That car is maybe not as competitive, not quite as fast as he had hoped this weekend. You know, great results so far this year. He's really impressed me in those first 2 races. It's not really playing out that way this weekend for him.
A pair of second place finishes to start the season as a rookie after winning a couple of times last year in USF Pro 2000 on his way to 4th in the championship. Still just 18 years old from Palo Alto, California. And then there's the 19-year-old Matteo Nannini. Now the gap has closed a little bit. It's down to a second. Still the fastest lap of the race is held by Nannini by 2 100ths over Louis Foster, running in second with the second fastest lap of the race. But it is closing a little bit, and we are not quite halfway there. And to make the Firestones last, remember, this is a new tire this year, and each weekend is a new experience to learn. How's it going to make it? These stints are 10 laps longer than IndyCar goes.
And it is a real challenge to keep those tires under you. We've seen some drivers with little lockups here and there, and when you take the life out of the tires like that, it never recovers. You know, Kiffin Simpson back there has driven away, but it's really about these 2 drivers up front. And Louis Foster, last lap, was a solid 1/10 of a second faster than Matteo Nannini. So he has closed in under a second. But when he gets there, catching is one thing. Passing is a totally different conversation. And again, it comes back to how and when you use that push-to-pass system. You know, it is a great opportunity that you can use both to overtake and also to defend. It gives you about a 50 horsepower boost. You can only use it for 15 seconds, but none of these straights are really 15 seconds long. But total time during the race, 150 seconds. So you are limited. You can't, as a driver, you'd love to just tape that button down and have it that extra horsepower the whole time. But it's one of the aspects about managing the race. When to use the push to pass to defend, when to use the push to pass to try and pass, how much you have, and when it really matters to try and use that horsepower to get you where you need to go.
Foster continues to gain. He's cutting about a 1/10 or so off a lap right now.
Inside of a second. If I'm Matteo Nannini, I'm starting to feel that pressure a little bit. I know Louis Foster, championship winner last year from the USF Pro Championship, running that 26 car for Andretti Autosport. They're both rookies, but Louis Foster has some more experience here, racing in North America, racing here on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway's road course.
As new tracks go, I'm told this is one that you can get acclimated to a little quicker than some of the other places Indy NXT would go to.
I would agree with that. It's very similar to a lot of the European racetracks. There's wide open spaces, there's not huge elevation. It reminds me a little bit of Silverstone in the UK, Monza in Italy, some really long straights, heavy braking, combination corners. You're not in a concrete canyon like you are at St. Pete. You're not riding a Alabama roller coaster like you were in Barber Motorsports Park. So it is a track you can come to and pick up pretty quickly.
Well, Louis Foster, who continues to gain, is looking for something. He has been quick both weekends, starting up front, but has finished 14th in each of the first 2 races. So he's 15th in the championship. A win here, even a second, is going to put him right back in the game.
And I would say that Barber Motorsports Park was not his fault. He had a mechanical failure. The throttle stuck, which is one of the scariest things for a driver. And it put him in the wall, caused that late race red flag that caught out a couple other drivers that wouldn't refire. So, you know, part of it is consistency with your team and with you as a driver.
Just past the halfway point, it's Indy NXT by Firestone from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The month of May and the lead up to the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500, coming up 2 weeks from tomorrow. The NTT IndyCar Series is coming up 3:30 airtime today on NBC and here on Peacock, and 3:45 the green flag. So make sure you're joining us right on top at 3:30 to get started for IndyCar. And then Tuesday, Indy 500 practice begins at 9 a.m. exclusively here on Peacock. Battle for 4th right now. Look at Rasmussen in the black car, McElrea and green. And here's what happened just a few moments ago. McElrea trying to go around the outside, got up halfway inside, and then starts to back out, stays on it, and then they're still at it going into turn 7.
That's one of the things about these combo corners. If you can't get the pass done right away, you live to fight another corner, and then you try again into turn 7. But Christian Rasmussen, we saw him smoke that left front, lock that left front tire. It burns the oil off the surface. That's where tire smoke comes from. And that'll give a little bit of a flat spot and take some of the grip out of that Firestone tire. And it will only encourage Hunter McRae. I was trying to hear the radio communication there to see what's going on, but it will be like waving a red flag in front of a bull that is Hunter McRae to try and get past his former teammate, Christian Rasmussen.
Well, that was great stuff, and it was great racing as well to continue with a couple of side-by-side battles on the same lap, and it's brought Josh Green into that mix and made it a 3-wide battle. How big is the draft here in the main straightaway? There's a lot of air wash behind these cars, but how much of an advantage can you gain? And what's the ultimate? For going fast, how close do you want to be?
Well, for going fast, clean air is always good. You take as much aero assistance, that draft you talk about, down the front straight, but at the same time, we're 20 laps into this race. These Firestones are starting to give up some of their grip. They're not new anymore. Even as the fuel burns down, these drivers' hands are getting busier and busier and busier. You saw Christian Rasmussen subtly having a big slide through turn 14 that last time coming onto the front straight. You want to be within half a second. If you're within half a second, you can really use that close up and go past. Josh Green, who was right there on the back, made a mistake. Maybe tried to outbrake himself just a little bit into turn 7 and slide back a little bit.
Let's talk more about the driver running in second right now. Louis Foster has lost a little bit of that closing speed. Georgia is down in the Andretti pits.
Lost a little bit of time, but he's been meticulously creeping up on Matteo Nannini. That's Louis Foster. Are you excited with what you're seeing with the gap closing and staying consistent?
Yeah, I think Louis is doing a good job right now. I think we're biding our time. I think he's got a really good car. We haven't used hardly any push to pass, so we're just hanging in there right now. Wait till the last 8 laps or something.
So is there any conservation on tires happening right now?
It does. Every race we find out a little bit more about the Firestone tires, so we're getting better and better at managing them and know when to push and when not to push. And I think he's doing a really good job right now. So.
Thank you, Don. Don Lambert, team manager, Andretti Autosport. Louis Foster on the hunt for that top spot.
That was really telling what Don said right then, to me at least. Every race, they're learning more and more about these Firestone tires, about what it takes to turn them on and go fast for the ultimate lap, but also what it takes to make them last for a full race distance and still be fast at the end when it matters. Figuring out how to set the car up to take care of them. If it's different than what it takes to set the car up for the ultimate lap time. What you may see in these closing laps is Matteo Nannini's car absolutely the quickest, no question of a doubt yesterday. Today, those last 5 laps, is the car going to be there, or is Louis Foster going to burn overtake, get close, and make the pass?
This is useful right here. I want to see what the most recent, not the fastest of the race, and that tells us right now. So Nannini is still a little bit faster, and it pretty much stays in order. Rasmussen's got a little bit more pace, so we might look for him. Matteo Nannini, first time out front in this series in America, has controlled the pace. Took us a little while to get going. 3 starts to get this race started. Too slow, too fast, and then just right in try number 3. And Matteo Nannini, the gap has never been under 0.7 of a second since the second lap.
He came across the line first lap almost a second up and hasn't really looked back. Louis Foster made a run at him, but Matteo absorbed the pressure and then stretched that gap out again, and I'm really impressed. I doing well, winning a race in International FIA Formula 3 F3 is nothing to scoff at, and he's showing that experience here. He has just got the composure. He is managing the race, managing the speed. Last time he was 1/10.5 faster than Louis Foster, continuing to manage that gap, get it back to 1.5 seconds where he's comfortable.
Let's help people understand that. How does that level compare to this? This is still a step higher than FIF3, correct?
Correct. These cars are bigger. They are a little bit faster with a little more downforce, maybe a little bit more grip. But an FIA F3 car that level is extremely competitive. I would say it is a halfway house between the U.S. Pro 2000 cars that we race here in the U.S. and these Indy NXT cars. It kind of slots in the middle. And at the same time, it is a step up, and he's done a great job showing the same maturity for a 19-year-old rookie starting on pole. First couple of race start attempts didn't go to plan, but that didn't faze him at all. He was able to get out, run clean, take advantage of clean air, and at the moment, so far, 12 laps to go, he's on track for his first win in Indy NXT at the Indianapolis
Pretty good
Speedway.
place to get it done. 2 hours from now, almost exactly, we'll see the green flag for the NTT IndyCar Series. 3:30 is when we're on air. Drivers will be climbing into the cars as we come on air on NBC and right here on Peacock as well. The month of May is upon us in Indianapolis. Practice days for the Indy 500 on the oval, Tuesday through Friday, exclusively all day long on Peacock. Weekend, there's some Peacock coverage. There's NBC coverage for qualifying both days, as they like to say. Check your local listings. There's a Monday practice the week before the 500, all leading up to May 28th and the 107th Indianapolis 500. A little further back, the DHL car of Jamie Chadwick trying to make a move on Josh Pearson. Side by side.
Good. Okay, good job. Get that going.
Chadwick wins that battle.
Josh Pearson falling down the order today, qualified 7th and is back to 17th. I don't know if he just missed it on the car setup for the race or if he's got a problem he's fighting with.
And remember too, Josh Pearson
Nice work. Focus forward.
has one race of experience in these cars. He only did the St. Petersburg race and had contact early in the race and didn't get to complete the whole race.
That's right.
So he is doing really a schedule in many different cars, but the other primary focus is the World Endurance Championship. We see him in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. So he is a very, very busy, very, very young man, still just 16 years old. Here's Jamie Chadwick getting after it.
And she just gets inside, outbrakes him, gets wheel to wheel, and makes sure that he doesn't have room to go the long ways around the outside and steal the inside into turn 2. But I want to look at the right rear of Josh Pearson. There's some marks going on there. I don't know if he's got a problem. And what it looks like, there's almost a line or a streak on the right rear tire of Josh Pearson's car. And I wonder if they've missed the setup a little bit, and that's creating the problem. He's losing grip. But Jamie Chadwick, she is new to the Indy NXT. She is a 3-time W Series champion and has come in here driving the DHL car, the 28 for Andretti Autosport. I think she's really progressing at a great rate. They have a lot of hope for her to continue to move forward throughout the course of the year.
She finished 11th at Barber a few weeks ago. Very new experience. Big step up for Jamie Chadwick, and again, another season of just adjusting and learning. And meanwhile, back up front, look at that gap. That was a 1.5 seconds not long ago. It's about a 0.5 seconds and closing. Louis Foster is within shouting distance of Matteo Nannini with 10 laps to go at Indianapolis.
Don Lambert said they're going to try and push. I think we're going to get a replay of why it's so close. Matteo Nannini giving up some time. Back to Louis Foster in second. Gets on the brakes. Oh, locks the front just a little bit. Slides past the apex in turn 1. We get another view here. You can see him trying to add wheel, saying, I need to go right, I need to go right, I need to go right. Losing some lap time, and Louis Foster taking advantage at inside 3/10. I bet Louis Foster's thinking about using that push to pass out of 14 down into turn 1.
So that is a big question. Who has conserved their push to pass the most? That might determine the outcome of this one.
Don Lambert talked about keeping some speed and push to pass in their back pocket with Louis Foster, trying to get it done towards the end of the race. We're 9 laps to go, and they come across the line this time. Don was talking about the last eight laps of the race, going to race for the win.
Gap is 0.6 right now. There's Michael Andretti watching on board.
I think that little head shake from Michael was, he's not close enough this lap. He's got to save it and do a little bit more later.
Michael Andretti has been one of the great supporters of the ladder series for IndyCar. One time fielding cars in every step of the ladder, now supporting 4 cars in Indy NXT by Firestone. And beyond that, he's also elevated drivers from this level up to the IndyCar level, which is also important.
And even if drivers leave that Andretti camp, like Kyle Kirkwood did after he won the Indy NXT championship for them, spent a year with AJ Foyt Racing, now has come back to Andretti and won him a race at Long Beach already this year.
As Don Laberton said, when we get inside that final 10, 8 or 9 laps to go, maybe you can start to go. Foster is within about a car length and a half here at this point. You can see where he's a little quicker in some corners. In some sections, Nannini is a little bit better.
Straight push to pass. All straight push to pass.
3 U70. Hip now 67. U56.
Foster not close enough this time, but he's within under a half a second. As we touched on at the top, unfortunately, we're down a driver, and someone was off to a great point start to this season. Ernie Francis Jr. came in tied for 4th in the championship, but suffered an injury early in the Barber race, finished the race, and then we find out just a couple of days ago, Georgia, not able to go this weekend. Tell us more.
Yeah, and as we know, Ernie Francis Jr., typically the pilot of the HMD Force Indy 99, but he's going to sit out this event with that wrist injury, taking all precautions and protocol, tending to his wrist to get it back to 100%. So he had surgery and then went back and forth with the team to decide whether or not he would race or sit out this Indy NXT by Firestone Grand Prix, and ultimately just decided to heal before jumping back in. But yesterday he was able to wear for the first time a carbon fiber brace designed specifically to fit his wrist and the steering wheel of the 99. So the brace was designed and created by Dr. Tremmel, the same doctor who designed and created Jimmy Johnson's brace he wore for a short time in his IndyCar career. But overall, we're hoping for a quick recovery for Ernie Francis Jr. and his return to the racetrack.
He's got about 3 weeks before Detroit, and I'm sure you have worked with Dr. Trammell before. Just about everybody in IndyCar knows Dr. Trammell.
Absolutely a great resource for the health and safety of all these drivers within the IndyCar series, Indy NXT drivers. I've worn a carbon fiber brace, not on my wrist, but on my hand after breaking a bone in my hand at Mid-Ohio test crash way back in 2012. So I know what that feels like, and it is so hard. I remember asking the doctor if he could just take my pinky off so I could race the next weekend, and he advised that was a bad idea. And I'm sure Ernie looked at all the options to try and get back in the cockpit for this weekend. But with 3 weeks to heal between now and the Detroit Grand Prix, especially a double header up there, the rough and tumble streets, you know, a new street circuit, it would be really tough if it wasn't healed completely. So discretion, the better part of valor for Ernie Francis Jr. He was off to such a great start this season in points, and not running this weekend drops him at the moment as they run from tied in 4th all the way back to 15.
Yeah, looking ahead to that Detroit weekend, we are really excited to see a true downtown street race in Detroit with IndyCar. The IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge Series is also going to be there. Dual pit lanes. Oh, we got a problem there for the number 10 car of Reese Gold making his HMD with Dale Coyne Racing debut.
Looks like it was contact.
All right.
Puncture, is that what the word was?
Yeah. And there's damage to that left front wing.
Is it actually puncture or no? Because it feels okay now.
Oh, he locks up the left front, and the left front has part of the Firestone tire. I think the rubber, because of that big lockup, comes through. I don't know if it's punctured, but it breaks the front wing as well.
And that's going to allow Jamie Chadwick to get another position. And he's still on it. And Josh Pearson is trying to make his way around the Ticket Clinic car. Here's the battle near up front for 4th. Rasmussen, McElrea have been pretty tied together throughout the day. McElrea had a couple of goes not long ago. Looks like he's within range again here.
You can make a pass into turn 12. It's not as easy. Oh, Christian Rasmussen with the big wiggle coming through turn 11. Hunter McElrea trying to go around the outside. Now the inside of 13. Not really where you want to make a pass, but Hunter holds on. They're going to go side by side through 14.
We don't
great.
see this very often.
That
Stuck
is
side by
great.
side for the final few corners of this track, and they still go side by side. Drag racing down into turn 1. McElray in the white car on the inside. Rasmussen needing to go around the outside. McElray.
Rasmussen trying the over-under, trying to hang on around the outside of turn 2, and Hunter McElray finally clears Christian Rasmussen for that 4th place.
The battle that has been nearly 15 laps in the making. Meanwhile, up front, it's as close as it's been. 0.3 of a second for a moment.
Louis Foster, I wonder if he's getting information from his timing stand. Hunter McElray made a pass into turn 12. Didn't finish it till turn 2, but it started all the way back in turn 12. Looked like he got a little squirrely. The rear of the car sliding around more than Louis Foster would want to be able to get that horsepower to the ground through those Firestone tires, close in, and set up a pass on our leader, Matteo Nannini.
Nannini gets through the final corners well, and Foster is not close enough this time as the laps dwindle. Those two have checked out. Kiffin Simpson has been running a lonely race today in 3rd.
Happily quiet, lonely. He's got 10 seconds up the road to Louis Foster in 2nd and nearly 8 seconds back to Hunter McElray. He's just happy to run laps out there.
Kiffin Simpson was looking for a bounce back. He finished at the back in the Barber round after showing pace, qualifying in 6th, finished 5th in round 1 at St. Petersburg. Let's go back and look at this again. And one thing I'll mention, Charlie, as we see the replay, really respectful racing by these two young drivers.
Ran really wheel to wheel, no contact, a little bit of a lockup for Hunter McElray. Christian Rasmussen sets up the over-under. Hunter McElray never afraid to drive that car sideways. He's always happy to throw a bunch of steering at it. And they ran side by side all the way down the front straight, up until the brake zone here in turn 1. Hunter McElray on the inside, the preferred overtaking line. Christian Rasmussen tries the over-under again, gets almost alongside, but it's so much harder to go the long way around the outside of turn 2 there.
Back up front, 3 laps to go, still 0.3 of a second. Matteo Nannini looking for his debut win in Indy NXT by Firestone. Christian Rasmussen, most recent winner at Barber Motorsports Park, is back in 5th as the championship leader, so that could get shaken up a little bit. Last year's USF Pro 2000 championship winner is Louis Foster, and he's on the run. He might have a look at him here coming into turn number 7. Nannini will try to defend. Foster bounces to the outside. Nannini still in front.
Louis Foster has been setting this up for 15 laps, and when he makes that move, he really wants it to stick. Nannini knows where he's quicker. He knows he's better out of turn 13 through turn 14, better out of turn 10. He's maybe not quite as good out of turn 4 on the run up to turn 7, so he will be conscious about defending where he can. Now, he can't block, he can't move in reaction to Louis Foster, but he can defend and move proactively to protect that preferred passing line.
Who has done the best job at preserving the Firestones for a 2-lap run to the finish? Just over 5 miles remaining at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Just under 5 miles remaining with under 2 laps to go. Foster not close enough in turn 1. Can he get another run going into turn 7? Nannini looked like he got through that section quicker.
It was clean through 1 and 2. Last lap, Nannini locking the right front. Louis Foster will be thinking about the lap before, but still, it's so close. I'm really impressed with Matteo Nannini's composure here. As Louis Foster on a big run, he's going to send it down the inside. He doesn't this lap.
We are told Nannini is out of push to pass.
He is going to feel like a sitting duck. If Louis Foster has a whole straightaway worth of push to pass, all he's got to be thinking about is a good, clean exit, getting on the button, doing everything he can draft up and go by the 75 car.
2 more long straightaways to go. Foster trying to set him up this time for the run down to turn 1. coming through 13, and Foster doesn't have a whole lot. He's got one more chance to use the push to pass. 5 seconds remaining. Does he use it here, or does he use it going to 7?
His team's calling it for him to use it if he's got it. He's on the button. See if he can drive up. It's not. He's trying to fake out Matteo Nannini. Great composure from that young Italian driver of the 75 car.
Nannini holds him off. This is the last lap at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Foster takes a look inside that time. We've seen moves made in places where you normally cannot make moves on this track. One more passing zone that's straightforward to come, and this is it right here. Heading to turn 7. Both are out of push to pass. Foster trying to find a way around. Nannini trying to protect. Nannini stays in front.
The last good opportunity. It's not quite as good as 7. Is going to be into turn 12. Louis Foster's got to be thinking about the exit of turn 10. Nannini's been strong all day here. Pulls out a gap, 3/10. Now he's thinking about what he's got to do to get through 12, 13, and 14 cleanly to hold the win to the line.
Young Brit Louis Foster is trying to force Matteo Nannini into a mistake. That's the only way it's going to happen. He's still within range, a couple of car lengths back, but just a couple of corners to go. Matteo Nannini has gotten back on the main straightaway, and the teenager from Italy has won at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Matteo Nannini wins at Indy.
What an incredibly composed drive from Matteo Nannini. What a great result to get your first Indy Next win at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You couldn't write a better story for that young Italian driver and the Juncos Hollinger team as well.
Less than 4/10 of a second, the difference on the road course in Indianapolis. And Ricardo Juncos, the car owner who knocked out McLaren and Fernando Alonso a few years ago in the Indianapolis 500, has now won a race at the world's greatest race course. Again,
great job, amazing race,
in Indy Next by Firestone. That's his wife there.
Kyffin Simpson, a solid drive, lonely, but a solid drive for Kyffin Simpson to come home on that final podium spot. 3 different race teams on the podium today here in Indy Next by Firestone.
And a green to checkers race, and really impressive racecraft in several battles throughout this race.
Great, clean competition, wheel-to-wheel racing for these drivers. You know, Nannini just absorbed the pressure, managed the race when he needed to, managed push to pass, and made sure that Louis Foster didn't have enough at the end of the race to get it done. Really impressive result.
Let's take a look at the pit wall. There's Ricardo. What a success story he is. Coming from Argentina, well-known story now, basically, depending on who you ask, either $300 or $400 loaned from his grandmother. Volunteers as a kart mechanic, eventually develops a karting team, then junior formula cars. Championship success now in the NTT IndyCar Series, but still very much embedded in the ladder series, and a winner again at Indy in Indy Next by Firestone. 3rd time they've won at this track. Rinus VeeKay and Kyle Kaiser have won in this series before at IMS.
You know, Louis Foster did everything he could to try and get past Matteo Nannini, but it was all the number 75 cars day today here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course.
Matteo, whenever I've spoken with him, he's very stoic, so I'm going to be interested if we see a little emotion and what this reaction is like for this young man.
You heard the emotion on the radio as he crossed the line, right? That
yep.
Screaming in joy. We will see as he climbs out right here. What a great day, though. He really, you know, he learned on the start, a little too slow, a little too fast, still able to get that jump and stay in position to hold off Hunter McElrea, absorb the pressure from Louis Foster all day.
What a day, what a memory.
and that was not handed to him. He had to work for it those last 5 laps.
Louis Foster was on the attack, but Matteo Nannini prevails. And Georgia, he has won at the world's greatest race course.
He absolutely have, and the emotions unbeatable down here. Congratulations from Ricardo Juncos. We might be able to grab a word with him as well, but as Matteo Nannini jumps out of the car, a win, I'm sure, means so much to both of you. But Ricardo, let's talk to you first. Ricardo, what does this win mean to you, especially here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
It's at home. It's amazing. Obviously, it's good to win at Indianapolis. Coming back to Indy NXT after 1 year without racing is being challenged. For Matteo also, he's not racing in the last 2 years, pretty much anything. So very happy, very new team of people. So coming that strong at the beginning of the season, I think is really good. We have so many races left on the championship. So I'm very, very happy for, not just for Matteo, which showing obviously his talent, but also for the whole group of people.
Congratulations, Ricardo and Matteo. First and foremost, what does this mean to you, and how did you stay so composed during those last few laps?
I mean, I really wanted this win, mainly for the team. We didn't start the championship the way we wanted, but I know we have the car to do it, we have the crew to do it, so yeah, I would have been really pissed if I was not gonna be the winner of this race. So yeah, I just tried to manage the car to the end of the race. I had a little issue with the braking. In fact, I was losing quite a bit, but I mean, here we are, so super happy for the result.
How hard did you have to strategize and push, knowing that you didn't have any push to pass left when Louis Foster did?
I didn't really know that, so I was just trying on making every corner the proper way, and yeah, just looking ahead.
Eyes ahead, his first career victory with the Indy NXT by Firestone. That is Matteo Nannini.
What a moment, enjoy it.
How special, and what a great result. Great battle there at the end, really great battle.
Foster and Simpson on the podium. Hunter McElroy and Christian Rasmussen waged a good battle all day. Another solid result for Josh Green. James Rowe finishes in the top 10 as well. Rasmus Lind, Jacob Abel, and Anam Ahmed round out the top 10. Let's hear from the runner-up. Louis Foster, Georgia, was charging, came up just short.
He was charging, came up just short it is, but it sure looked like you were trying everything in the book to catch Matteo Nannini. Just what more did you need?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of knew it was going to be a long race, and then once we cleared out of the guys behind us, I was a bit more happy using my push-to-pass to try and catch up to him. I had an advantage of push-to-pass by about 5 seconds for the last 5 laps or so. And coming onto the last lap, he had 9 and I had 5 seconds, so I was pretty convinced we'd be able to get it done there. But just with the car and the tyres coming off out of turn 14, I had a bit of a snap and had to lift out of it. So it's unfortunate, really. But obviously, our last 2 weekends haven't gone particularly well, so this weekend it was all about points, and we got that. So massive thank you to Andretti. They've done an amazing job, and hopefully we can build on this from here into Detroit.
How much of a team effort was that with the communication shared between you guys during the race?
Yeah, quite a lot. I mean, that was trying to manage my push-to-pass and his push-to-pass, and use a bit of my push-to-pass to make him use a bit more of his and stuff like that. It's quite difficult to manage whilst you're driving the cars. And the rears went off a lot more than I expected them to, so it was really managing that. But apart from that, it was a good race.
That is Louis Foster. He comes home second today, and you're in an Indy NXT by Firestone Grand Prix. Charlie, Kevin?
Thank you, Georgia. Let's look at the championship. No change up top as far as positions. Top 3 is still the same, but Matteo Nannini jumps from 17th to 4th. That's what we talked about. Things can change quickly.
A huge gain, and Hunter McElroy with his top 4 finish, his 4th place finish, moves up a couple spots. Louis Foster talked about points as well with those 2 problems early in the year. Moved up 8 spots with his 2nd place today. It's getting tighter up front. Christian Rasmussen, damage control, coming home 5th.
Yeah, Kiffin Simpson's podium also moves him up 6 spots. So we are still getting going today at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the NTT IndyCar Series here on Peacock and NBC. 3:30 with a 3:45 green flag. Young Christian Lundgaard starting on the pole today. Don't forget to join us. There are 2 rounds at Detroit coming up on Peacock the weekend of June 3rd and 4th. For Georgia Henneberry and Charlie Kimball, I'm Kevin Lee. Congratulations. Matteo Nannini has won at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.